the land of words with Flara. There's a tasty one, chingadera. Its spice is bold, beyond compare, but use it wisely, with great care. It dances on the tongue, debonair, but might cause a stir, so beware. Chingadera is fun, a word so rare. Just be mindful when you share.
Hello, Cluster. It's so good to get away, and it's so good to be back. I am back. And here we are, Coffee and Headlines morning, Monday morning, July 15. It's such a pleasure to see you. We had such a great time in Guadalajara, but there is a lot of stuff to cover today, so we're not going to show and tell Guadalajara until tomorrow. But please know, I'll keep it short. It was wonderful. It was restful. Travel time was amazing, and I'll be happy to share all the details with you tomorrow. Today, we have all kinds of news that I think are important that have accumulated through the weekend that you may have seen or you may have missed. Regardless, I'm going to show you a few things, and I received a long email message from a viewer with sensible questions that I would like to take some time on answering later on today, because I think there is more than one great teachable moment there. So let's start with the news. For starters, the color palette for downtown facades have been presented. You may recall that the local government has expressed interest in reviving a local law that expects all facades and storefronts in El Centro to be painted with the same colors. Now, a group of local authorities plus neighborhood representatives, architects, and business owners have met at City Hall to see the color palettes that the government has chosen to propose. Of course, we don't get to see the colors. It's only Monday, so the news people are not quite alert quite yet. All we know, though, is that the several color palettes were presented, and they all complement terracotta, which is the only unifying color that is supposed to be used in downtown facades and storefronts. As I understand it, the authorities will meet again with these representatives today to show the final choices, and also to let everyone know that if you're going to be putting up ads in El Centro, your ads should also abide by this color palette. So how this is all going to work and how heavily it will be enforced remains to be seen. Then moving on to other news, this is probably only interesting to those of you who follow local politics closely, but I'd like to tell you that after losing his bid for the local mayorship, Ramon Guerrero, who was a candidate for the Movimiento Ciudadano Party, has been missing in action. It's worth remembering that when he first announced his candidacy, he was criticized for not even living in Puerto Vallarta, which is a requirement. If you want to be the mayor for Puerto Vallarta, you have to live in Puerto Vallarta. And a lot of people said, well, you can't be the mayor if you don't live here. And he argued that he did. But of course, now that the elections are over, he has been completely silent in social media. And that's probably just as well. He's probably back wherever he lives, and it is probably just as well that he did not win the election. Then moving right along, I also have this news about a group of Pitillal residents that blocked traffic at the entrance of Pitillal to raise awareness of a retainer wall that was built in the 1970s along the Pitillal River that now requires much needed attention since the rainy season has begun. as we've mentioned recently. It is quite unfortunate that lately the only way to get the local government's attention is by blocking traffic and affecting many other people in the process. You may recall that this is exactly what residents along San Salvador Street resorted to a few weeks ago to protest for the unfinished improvements along their street. And even though the local government scraped from other projects to come up with a budget required to at least bring the street back to a drivable condition, nothing has changed along San Salvador Street as of yet. Although there was this other news item that I chose to skip from the mix, in which the local government made a report on the progress that they're doing in fixing this, that, and the other along the city. And they stated that San Salvador Street is at 95% of completion, but the evidence doesn't show that at all. And I also want to let you know that weather specialists are keeping an eye on a new tropical formation in the Pacific Ocean that is expected to bring a fair amount of rain to the region. I went looking for it in the satellite map, and it is barely visible, but you know how it goes. It is only Monday. You know, a lot of things can change, and this thing could evolve into a tropical storm or a hurricane. We'll keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, let's see what our snarky weatherman has to say this morning. And I put it up on my screen, and it says, rain stopping in 10 minutes, USA, 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 whatever. It is 30 degrees right now. Humidity is at 74%. And our weather forecast for today says we're going to have light rain with scattered thunderstorms throughout the day, a chance of rain of 40%, a high of 32, and a low of 25. Then tomorrow, Tuesday, we can expect rain in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 46%, a high of 32, and a low of 24. And then Wednesday, partly cloudy skies in the morning with rain in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 61%, a high of 32, and a low of 24. And moving along to other announcements that I have here, what is next? Yes. In case you have stuff in your Amazon wish list, please notice that Noticias PB has published a reminder that Amazon Prime Day in Mexico starts tomorrow and continues through July 21st. I don't know if this Prime Day is taking place in other Amazon stores around the world, but at least we know that it is happening here in Mexico. And next on my list is this 6th Mango Festival that has been announced, and it will take place on July 20th at Plaza Lázaro Cárdenas. This is an event organized by the Highland Park Puerto Vallarta Sister Cities Committee, and part of the proceeds from the event will be used to continue construction of a cultural center in Colonia Los Llanitos in Ixtapa. Mango, the fruit, is of course the main ingredient in a number of dishes and drinks that will be prepared and offered by local restaurants, and there will also be some live music. The event will begin at 11 o'clock in the morning and continue until 8 p.m. I will be looking for a Facebook event just to see if we learn more details between now and then. I also have great news for those of you that love the performing arts. Acclaimed Mexican ballet dancer Isaac Hernandez will become the first Mexican ballet dancer to join the American Ballet Theater Company in the United States. This is not a bad move, considering that he has been a lead principal with the English National Theater for some time. The 34-year-old artist was born in Guadalajara and is one of 11 children of former dancer Hector Hernandez. So let's just say that he and his brothers and sisters received wonderful inspiration from his father. In fact, one of his brothers, Esteban, is a principal dancer with the San Francisco Ballet. How exciting. And of course, we are announcing the new registration form for this week's The Spotlight in the show notes today. The Spotlight will come back on Wednesday July 17. And I already know that Carmen Porras from Oculto will be joining us to talk to us about her upcoming Cuisine of Puebla showcase, which of course will take place on the 27th. And she'll tell us a little bit of what we can expect in this wonderful event. And as long as we're tracking these events, I had a nice conversation with Lorenzo from El Rey Lounge over the weekend, and I learned that all the indoor sitting has been reserved for their first ever drag brunch north of the Rio Quale, which will also take place on the 27th. But he was quick to remind us that there is now also great incentive to sit in the backdoor patio. It is covered. It is not air conditioned, but it is covered. And they have new ceiling fans and misters to keep everybody comfortable. So you won't be able to sit inside where it's air conditioned, but there are still some spots to be had sitting outside. And last but not least, today, I wish to acknowledge this wonderful and very long email message that I received from a viewer named Brian, and I would like to take some time answering his questions. As an introduction, he writes, "Hi, I follow your content and enjoy watching. I hope you can offer assistance now that I am planning a trip to the area. While this will not be my first time in Mexico, it will be my first time in either Puerto Vallarta or Guadalajara. I am looking to spend the entire month of August in either one of both cities and would appreciate your input. I was initially interested in Puerto Vallarta. However, I keep reading about store closure and rainy weather during the month of August. I am also hearing that things are more expensive, especially accommodations. However, I do not know much about Guadalajara." So that's the introduction that we get from Brian. Even before we get into his specific questions, I already have some comment and some feedback. First of all, if you are concerned about rain, up until now, Guadalajara has had more rain than Puerto Vallarta. So if you're concerned about raining in Puerto Vallarta, please know that it also rains, and quite a bit, in Guadalajara during the summer months. In this business about store closure here in Puerto Vallarta, yes, it is true that a number of restaurants and shops choose to close during part of the summer because either they want a well-deserved break, or maybe they think that there's nobody in the city. There's, for better or worse, there are a lot of people that just cater to the English-speaking community, some of which shies from the summer months and go away. But it's not like everything closes in Puerto Vallarta. Some stores do. And that's just what it is. The good news is that for the rest of us, there are many other choices out there. So that's for the intro. Then Brian goes on and says, "Can you offer some insight and possibly answer the questions I asked below?" Question number 1 is, what are some recommended ways to integrate within the community while staying in Puerto Vallarta or Guadalajara? I am interested in engaging in local events, volunteering with community organizations, and taking part in cultural activities are great ways to integrate within the community. Well, the good news is that for all intents and purposes, you have pretty much already answered your own question. I totally agree with you. The best way to engage is by volunteering and being part of a community. Unfortunately, I don't know which community you are referring to. There are many communities. So without knowing which community you want to be a part of, it is difficult to answer this question. Some communities have volunteering opportunities that are readily available. And what I mean by that is all you have to do is show up and say, "I want to volunteer." Whereas other communities or other pursuits have a much more elaborate volunteering selection process and whatnot. So without having more information as to what community you are referring to, Brian, it is difficult to be more specific. Now, question number 2 says, can you provide some top food and restaurant recommendations in Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara? Depending on where I go in Puerto Vallarta, I will want to try fresh seafood at local favorites like Mariscos Tinos and authentic Mexican cuisine. In Guadalajara, I will want to try birria. Well, that's another great question, but once again, what is top for me may not necessarily be top for other people. I am an English-speaking local. I'm Mexican national, but I'm a local. So my idea of a top restaurant recommendation could be the Mercado because it is authentic, or it could be a brand spanking new restaurant around the corner owned by a small family, or it could also be a Michelin restaurant. So it would be very easy for me or anyone to say to you, well, you want a top restaurant, you want to go to Trio, or you want to go to Café des Artistes, or some of the gourmet restaurants in town. But not knowing what top restaurant is for you, it is difficult to answer. And that is as far as Puerto Vallarta is concerned. And as far as Guadalajara, I personally don't travel to Guadalajara to eat. Obviously, everybody has to eat, but top-notch restaurants in Guadalajara are not one of my main goals when I visit our capital city. For me, a great top restaurant in Guadalajara would be a fun, accessible, affordable restaurant that happens to be in the area where I'm spending time. And you have to remember, Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara are large cities, not small towns. And then the next question is, what are the best areas to stay in Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara for someone looking to work remotely and enjoy their stay during the month of August? If I choose Puerto Vallarta, I am thinking staying around the Zona Romantica. If Guadalajara, the Chapultepec and Providencia neighborhood, can you provide insight? Gladly. But again, not having enough information about what your wants and needs are. I can tell you that for me, as an English-speaking local, the last place I would want to stay is Emiliano Zapata. Emiliano Zapata is for tourists, and it is boring and it is expensive. But maybe that's what you're looking for. And as far as Guadalajara, I don't know what the living situation is in Guadalajara. I always stay at a hotel, so I really cannot help you there. And last but not least, overall, my hope would be to consider possibly moving to the area. However, for now, it's just a trip. Which city would you recommend as a base for a first time, if only choosing one? Well, Brian, here I'm sure that up to this point, I haven't given you any useful information, but now I am about to. It would be so easy to honor these questions if you honored your own tribe by stating it. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Actually, before I tell you what I mean by that, let me tell you what frequently happens around here. You get people that reach out and say, what is the best this? And what is the best that? And it's difficult to answer these questions when you are not honoring your tribe. It would be so different when any request, and I don't mean yours only, when people would start by saying, I'm a gay man in my 40s that enjoys nature. I speak English and Spanish fluently. Can you provide me information about this, that, and the other? And I think age, gender, interests, and language skills are fundamental to begin answering these questions in a way that is actually useful. So this is feedback and commentary not only for dear Brian, who took the time to write a lengthy note, but for anyone that is in the business of reaching out to us either on the live broadcast or through correspondence via email. So much time would not be wasted on either side when we choose to honor our tribes and state them to other people. Had I known your age, your expectation, your language skills, a little bit about your interests, I would have been able to give you very, very different uh, information and feedback. And I am sure that that would have been the case for anyone here on the broadcast. I will suggest, once again, honor your tribe by mentioning it and stating it whenever you ask for questions like that, because I'm sure that more people will be so happy to help you if you provide more information. Not doing so is kind of like going to your general doctor and saying, well, I have an itch, you know? So that's number one. And number two, just join the broadcast, watch the broadcast, engage in the broadcast. And also be mindful that, if you come onto the broadcast and put out a question without being a part of the conversation, then you risk being perceived as a selfish, ignorant, aware tourist that is only interested in what is important to you and not for the community. And I'm not saying that that is your case, but we see a lot of that here at Coffee and Headlines. So I am sorry that I couldn't be more helpful. Next time you come back or you reach out to many forums that are available for expats, for English-speaking people, for entitled communities, for gay communities, for remote workers, for everyone, you will probably get much useful answers. And my wish is that you do. The end. Wow, that was a lot, wasn't it? Let us all think about this, and that is just an invitation. When we honor our tribes, I just happen to think it's a much more effective way to lend a helping hand. Please let me know your thoughts about this concept of honoring your tribe by stating it. Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, great places to explore, great places to live, great places to visit. But it is so fucking difficult to help anyone when we don't know anything about you. So help yourself by giving us more information so we can help you. The end. Now, we have all kinds of good morning, and I can't wait for tomorrow's Guadalajara update. I took photos and I have adventures to share. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, Guadalajara show and tell. But meanwhile, we have all these questions. It is so good to, all these questions, all these comments. It is so good to read all your good mornings. I can tell you that Luisa was in top form through the weekend. She was so funny. You were so funny, friend. You were wonderful. And Albert, we haven't decided if we're going to give you your present while Mijal is out of town or if we're going to give you your present when she comes back. But we have a present for you, so there. Let's see what else we have. There's a queue. Let me see. Thanks to you who sent me warm birthday wishes yesterday. They were greatly appreciated. I am sorry to say I was not one of those people, Mark, but happy belated birthday. I truly, truly hope you had a good one. Yay. Let's see what else we have. Oh, Daniel, you haven't told me when you're coming back. I miss you too. I miss you. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, our Mambo presentation on Thursday night before we left was so much fun. It was great. Let's see. Kathy is back in Puerto Vallarta for 2 weeks and schwitzing a lot. I tell you, we got off the bus yesterday afternoon, actually. The bus was so fucking fast. It was great. We got off the bus and the door opens and you could feel the schwitz. And we left the bus terminal and we took a deep breath and it smelled like Puerto Vallarta. And that's not necessarily a good thing. Oh, let's see. Oh, really? Dale says, I heard they will have some lucha libre at the Mango Festival too. I hope we can throw mangoes at the fighters so they get slippery. Ooh, that is almost kinky. Let's see. Yeah, I know. And you know what, Albert? For me, this was a great learning experience looking at all the questions from Brian because something that I learned, I thought about this a long time because these questions came to me even before I left for Guadalajara. And I did not want to be unhelpful. I wanted to be as helpful as I could. And what I've learned is I don't mind the very touristy oriented questions that we get from time to time, as I mind when people expect one to be a telepath and know their age, their gender, their expectations, their cultural awareness of our country, their language awareness of our country. So what I've learned about myself is that I love these questions when we have people honoring their tribe and mentioning it, because then it's easy to create the connections. When not so much. Daniel says Brian needs to hire a local travel agency to plan his experience, right? But it was definitely a very thorough email, which I appreciated. I love that he has put so much thought into his upcoming experience, and I do too. Honor your tribe by stating it. I love this. Very helpful and also introspective, Paco. Well, it's one way to go about it. It's not the only way, but hopefully that will resonate with at least some of you. And this brings us to good points, Paco, regarding questions. I wish more people on Facebook followed that advice. Well, I think it's a good idea. We don't have to abide by it, but I bet that if we did, we would make it easier for other people to connect. And my wish is for us to do that. I always try to honor my tribe. I don't always do it, but it was a nice reminder this morning of how important it is. And that brings us to the end of today. It is so nice to be back among you. And it is so nice to be back at home. Luna was so happy to see me. And I look forward to sharing more details about our trip to Guadalajara this weekend through photos and videos. I look forward to doing that with you tomorrow. Between now and then, stay kind, stay happy, stay well connected, honor your tribe, and state it so that we can find you and help you connect. Have a great day.